has been a part of our community for many years. He guest speaks here once a month. He is a New Thought minister that also speaks in Red Deer regularly. Doug comes from a long time teaching in the business world at SAIT in business. He's a professional Santa Claus. He's a professional mountain guide. He is a man of many personas, and we get the delight of having those revealed to us through his talk. So let's find out what Doug has to talk about, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody this wonderful morning?
Awesome.
You know, I wanted to just talk about that message that Bruce gave us today and how powerful it is, and thank you for sharing, Bruce. That's heartfelt. And he made a comment there that I would like everybody just to open up to. He said he was healthy, and he said, you know, I didn't say wealthy. Do you know, I want to tell you, Bruce, to have the courage to be on the journey you're on and to get up here and share. You're one of the wealthiest people I know. And I acknowledge all the rest of you for being here to be open and receptive to this philosophy and this teaching, because that alone brings a tremendous amount of wealth. We all sometimes get mixed up with the concept of wealth as being money and assets, which are okay. There's nothing wrong with them, okay? But it's not that. It's a way more than that. I have hardly any money or assets, believe it or not, but I got wealth like you wouldn't believe.
Oh yeah.
In experiences and the joy of actually having this teaching embodied in me, and to be able to take it out and use it in this world. And you know, there's a lot of people around that don't have the wealth that every one of us here today has, because we know that we can be in charge and make changes in our life. And so today, thank you again, Bruce. That was really good. I needed to say that too. So that's for me too, and for you. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. You know, I got to go for a few different places on this idea of beauty. So for me, I'm going to talk about how I experienced beauty in a way that I never dreamed possible. I'm not an artsy person. You know, there's some people that are really into art and really appreciate and understand it. And that. I'm one of those ones that don't get it. I look at the pictures and I go, yeah, well, what's the big deal? Right? But I always said I was open. That's the thing that you got to watch. Make sure you're always open. And when you are, one will have an experience that will change their life. And I didn't even realize, I was in so denial about it, that I actually did appreciate art. And I didn't even know it. I couldn't even say it. But we were on tour, Ann and I, one day, and we were over, the Queen was gone, so we got into Buckingham Palace. And, you know, they've got some great artwork there, right? And I'm not being an art person. I walked by this Rembrandt, and I looked at it, and boom, I go, I couldn't believe how fantastic and beautiful it was, right? So that was that trip, and then and it touched some other things that I'd had happen in my life. And then I went, okay, well, we're going to Italy. We're going to put this to the test, this art thing. Because I get tired of hearing people talk about Michelangelo and David. I get tired of hearing him. It can't be that. It can't be that way. Well, I went in and I saw David, and I don't know how long I stood there. I just could not believe it. It wasn't the way they said it was way more. But of course, that was just for me. My eyes were looking at it, right? And then I discovered something Michelangelo did that touched me beyond, and I've never looked at any artwork or anything ever the same way since. That was good enough, those ones, but he has three pieces there that they call the prisoners. So he never got to complete them before he passed on to the next experience. He was in demand by the Pope in that. But he's got these three models there, and he call them the prisoners because he got them half done, and you can see the people. It's like they're trying to get out of the stone. Honest to God, you could see the expressions on their face. There, you gotta see that if you're ever there. And they look like they're coming out of the stone. It's the most incredible thing I've ever seen. So the beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. And I never realized by having that thing, because I was never good at art, so I got that, well, that's for other kind of people, not me. I didn't know that you could appreciate and find beauty in something like that would touch one's souls, even if you don't have a clue. You don't have to have a clue. I don't understand a bit about it. Nothing. Zero. But holy, just looking at it with a different perspective. Just being in this philosophy and opened up to it. And I remembered, and then it opened up the other experiences. I went into a friend's house when I just first met her 20 some odd years ago. And she had this beautiful painting on their wall. And I looked at it and I said, man, it was a mountain. I like mountains. Is that ever neat? It grabbed me. And I went to see her a couple of weeks later. She says, I painted that. Like, really? And I've been looking for years for somebody to give that to. And you're the right person. I look at it all the time. It does something to me. Never would I ever have dreamed, have you told me that I would be like that. But I am. And that also opened up some more interesting areas in my life inside of me where with that realization of something I had to, it has also opened me up to see that which is around me that I really did appreciate, like the mountains and that, even more intensely. Like I can't get away from those things. I just go right back into the mountains. That's it. Case closed. Can't do nothing else. I've even got a 3-week or 3-day and 4-day, 3-night experience booked in the backcountry campground. Looks like I'll be doing that solo too. So I'm really pumped on that one. Anna's not as pumped as I am. So folks, really, the beauty is not a thing of itself. And you don't have to be an expert or anybody special. Because we're all special to be able to appreciate and see the beauty in the experiences that are around us. And if we're willing to do that, it's not just limited to one thing. It's a vast amount of things that we experience. It's all in the eyes of the beholder. All depends on what we want to be open to. I can hardly wait to see what's going to happen next. I keep saying that, but when it does, sometimes I like to retract the statement, but I'm already in the middle of it. So, the next idea, you heard the old expression, beauty is only skin deep? Wrong! It's not. Beauty is more than skin deep. It's a way beyond that. The bottom line is what's beyond that skin and that look is the real essence of people. And in my journey over the years and working with a lot of people, it's been over 40 years now I've been involved in this philosophy. I have run across lots of different people. I have run across some of the most handsomest gentlemen and most beautiful ladies that everybody would just go, wow. That are absolutely a mess because they think they're ugly. They think they're there's something wrong with them. And yet, I've seen some people who others would judge and deem not to be so pleasant to look at as the most vivacious, alive people I've ever seen. Okay? Why? Well, because the real nice looking ones didn't get it. And the other ones that may be deemed not that good looking did get it. That beauty has got nothing to do with this. You could do all you want with this, and it isn't going to make this feel a whole lot better. Am I lying about that, folks? No. Most everybody knows that's the truth. Okay? And we can do this, and it makes us, feel a bit better, but it's not the real truth. It doesn't make us feel really good about who and what we are. And when we feel good about who and what we are, that inner beauty begins to radiate through us. And there's going to be people go, but that's good. We need those people anyhow, because somebody's got to hang out with them. They're going to hang out with each other. We don't need it, right? So, and I always got this idea that I picked up years ago from a book by Terry Cole Whitaker. She wrote something like that. What other people think of me is none of my business. Your problem with your life isn't got to do with anything other than being concerned about what other people think about you. It doesn't matter. Well, how do you know that? Well, it's simple. Who does the thinking in your head? Do you let other people do it? No, you got charge there. So it really doesn't matter what they think, whoever they are. It only really, bottom line, matters what one thinks about self. And the key to doing that is when you're thinking about self, make sure it always comes from the spiritual perspective. If not, you get the old ego involved and edging God out, and then you're playing the game out here and it gets nasty. Okay? But when you're in here coming from that perspective, then you'll be totally comfortable with who and what you are. It takes practice, by the way. Am I there yet? Not 100%, but I'm getting closer. So it's been 40 years, so I'm not trying to put you off. Okay? It's just the journey. That's what it is. And is it worth it? I gotta tell you, when I see certain things that I looked at before and it didn't move me as much, when I see them now, they move me a lot more. And when I see things that really moved me before and I see them now, I'm going, it's the same old thing. But wow, is it ever different? How can that same old thing be that much better? It's simple. Which takes me right into the next point. What you are looking for is what you're looking with. What you're looking at is what you're looking with. We see everything by what we are looking with and what we're looking for. And one of my favorite stories was being unsuccessful in 3 marriages and finally figuring out, being on the journey that I'm going to fix the problem. Those women all got something that they need to get done. I'm going to find out what it is and fix it so I don't get stuck with one of them again. So I really actually did this and sat down and made a list. All 3 of them. I really did this. I was very disappointed in the list because I was at the top. I'm serious about this. I was really going to dig into it. And I got digging into something else I didn't want to. So I decided then that, okay, let's see if I've got to change myself and get rid of the don't likes, because that gives energy to detract, and build the likes and build more of what I've got to bring about me. It was all about me, by the way. Then you go and practice a bit. I knew what I was looking for in a relationship, and I knew what I was looking with. I wanted to look into those eyes when I saw that special person, and I wanted to recognize them. So I knew what I was looking for, and I knew who I was looking with. And you might say, well, that part cuts down the possibilities. Yeah, it cuts it down to the right one. Right? So, and how it happened was, I did that every time I met a nice lady. And one day the elevator opened, and I looked into the eyes, and I recognized her. It was never one of those big heartthrob things that you go, woo! It wasn't like that. It was just almost flatlined, eh? Because you see, what people don't understand is that's the way the Spirit is. The Spirit just is. It doesn't need to go, woo! Whoa! It doesn't do that. That's us that does that. Have you ever got a message from God going, woo, 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 woo? No, it just is. Okay, it's very silent, it just is. That's why we miss it so many times. If somebody was out there kicking our butt, did you hear that? Well, we'd like to listen to it a little closer. But we don't. We need to, because it's the is that's right. Right, Anna? Last one I want to talk about here is the person in the mirror. So when you get up in the morning and rush into the bathroom and you got the light on and you look at the face looking at you, do you go into a tirade of, or do you stay there and say, how could anyone ever tell you that you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle, how deeply you're connected to my soul? And by the way, you say, well, there's nobody else there. Holly got it there. Hey, you know what? You may say, oh, there's nobody else to say that to. No, wait a minute. This is not about anybody else. This is about you connecting to your soul instead of going, oh, jeez, oh, God, in the morning. Or other things that you might say or do. So, by the way, that's a song. We all know that song. How could anyone ever tell you? Google it. You could get the words. Put it in the bathroom. And when you go, how can anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? Okay? And I want to read a story to you by a gentleman by the name of Hans Christian Andersen. It was written and published in 1843. And they called it a fairy tale, but it's much more than that. I read the story. When the story begins, a mother's duck's eggs hatch. One of the little birds is perceived by the other birds and animals on the farm as an ugly little creature and suffers much verbal abuse and physical abuse from them. He wanders sadlessly from the barnyard and lives with the wild ducks and geese until the hunters slaughter the flocks. He finds a home with an old woman, but her cat and her hen taunt and tease him mercilessly, and once again he sets off alone. The duckling sees a flock of migrating wild swans. He is delighted and excited, but he cannot join them, for he is too young and cannot fly. Winter arrives. A farmer finds and carries a freezing little duckling home, but the foundling is frightened by the farmer's noisy children and flees the house. He spends a miserable winter alone in the outdoors, mostly hiding in a cave on a lake that partly freezes over. When spring arrives, a flock of swans that descend on the lake. The ugly duckling, now having fully grown and matured, is unable to endure a life of solitude and hardship anymore, and decides to throw himself at the flock of swans, deciding that it is better to be killed by such beautiful birds than to live a life of ugliness and misery. He is shocked when the swans welcome and accept him, only to realize by looking at his reflection in the water, he had grown into one of them. The flock takes to the air, and now the beautiful swan spreads its gorgeous large wings and takes flight with the rest of his new kind family. And so that's called The Ugly Duckling, and he wrote that story. It was not written as a fairy tale. It was written from the heart. He was asked one day when he was going to write his biography about his life. A famous artist like him, famous writer. And he replied, I've already wrote my biography. It's called The Ugly Duckling. So a man such as himself carried that burden about how he felt himself because of the conditions and circumstances around him all his life. And the only way he could purge that or gain any respect for himself was to be able to share that story about how he felt. So the next time you hear about that ugly duckling, think about your own journey and think about, folks, this is where really the rubber hits the pavement. Think about how you perceive yourself and how you respond to other people and conditions. Don't let other people or conditions or circumstance rob you of the beauty that you behold within you. Because we're all worthy of seeing that, and we're all worthy of exhibiting it. And it doesn't matter one single bit what anybody else thinks. We come to this point only by what we think, and it's what we think and what we do that takes us to the next level. So I have to admire, like I did Bruce for sharing today, Hans Christian Andersen for writing that beautiful story. And I hope you see that in a different way and take from today a little more love and respect for who and what you are and the beauty that you have that you bring to this life. I see it in you. I accept it in you. I know it is so, and so it is.
And so as we go into our time of meditation, we sing, I Remember.
I remember who I am. I remember who I am. I remember, I remember, I remember who I am. I remember who you are. I remember who you are. I remember, I remember, I remember who you are. We remember who we are. We remember who we are. We remember, we remember, we remember who we are.
And going within now, allowing a time of inner journey, present to this body temple that presents our physicality to the world. And coming before before a beautiful mirror and seeing self, seeing the physical self, the spiritual self, the whole self. And noticing our thoughts about this self in this mirror. Doing our best to suspend judgment about our thoughts and feelings about this self. And perhaps some of us notice the selves of our so-called past, our younger selves. And we remember the variety of ways that we have seen this self over the years. And from this place of now, with everything I am, I now choose my words and my emotional signature as I speak to myself in this mirror right now. And knowing that I can do this self-presencing practice at any time that feels appropriate to me. I sing this song, I Remember, in a new way, as though singing it for the very first time to myself.
I remember who I am. I remember who I am. I remember, I remember, I remember who I am.
song I wrote last night, or wrote down last night, and usually I won't write a song unless I know what I'm going to write about, because it's, how do I say it, so like, it's much easier to write a song if Spirit makes a phone call to me, right? If I do it the other way, if I make the phone call, then sometimes I don't get good reception or whatever, right? But if the inspiration comes, then the song writes itself. So all I had was this title that kind of came to mind when I was reading the blurb for Doug's talk earlier in the week. So I sat down last night with nothing but a title. So it took a little bit longer than usual to write this thing. And I was about, I guess, maybe I had written the verse and the pre-chorus. I was partway in, and then suddenly I realized, oh, I know what it's about. So it's called I See the Beauty in You, and what it's about is something that's been on my mind for a while now. I don't know if you've experienced this, but the polarization in our society is becoming kind of extreme. And it's interesting because I've had people call me a racist in recent months, and all kinds of like bizarre things, you know. And and I think what's happened is that I'm trying to hold on to seeing the humanity in other people, even if I don't agree with them, and other people won't have that. So as I was getting ready this morning, I was listening to this guy. There's this guy on YouTube. He calls himself Anomaly, and he's an anomaly because he doesn't choose sides, and he's trying to be a bridge, which I think is what New Thought is all about. And one of the things that one of I was thinking I was going to be emotional with this. One of the things that hurts me the most is that there are so many people who are following a New Thought path who are sucked into this. And I have ministers, New Thought ministers, who are like arguing with me and condemning me and so on and saying, you know, I'm like, aren't we supposed to listen to other people? Aren't we supposed to try to hear their point of view and treat them like they're worthy? So this morning, Anomaly, while I was getting ready, he said this quote. This is from Dale Carnegie. Any fool can criticize, complain, and condemn, and most fools do, but it takes character and self-control to be understanding and forgiving. That's what this song is about. One moment. Took off 8 keys. Here we go. Thoughts come and go by like clouds in the sky, and I see that I was made to see what lies beyond your eyes. There's a piece of you inside of me that's showing who we both could be. If I can see the beauty in you, and you can see the beauty in me, then you would see the true you in you, and I would see the real me in me. And for both of us, there'll be nothing left to say. I will see the true you in you. You'll get to see the real me. For both of us, there'll be nothing left to say. See the beauty flows through you. You can see the beauty flows through me. I can see the beauty flows through you. You can see the beauty flows through me. I can see the beauty flows through you. You can see the beauty flows through me. I can see the beauty flows through you. You can see the beauty flows through me. You can see the beauty flows through me. And I can see the beauty flows through you. I can see the beauty flows through me. And I can see the beauty flows through you. And everything. Now I see the beauty in you. Now you see the beauty in me. Well, we see the true you in you. We get to see the real me in me. For both of us, there'll be nothing left to say. For both of us, there'll be nothing left to say. For both of us, there'll be nothing left to say.
I do want to say though, before our starts again, the song, like without the band, I never heard the song before last night. They never heard it before this morning, and I couldn't remember how it went when I showed up this morning. So the band,
Oh, wow. I have been well fed this morning, I can tell you. That daily word, wonderfully and gratefully blessed, I sure feel. Now, if you'd like to chat with Doug, he's going to be hanging around. So if his message speaks to you and you'd like to know more about the topic today or his work in the world, please do take the opportunity to get to know this beautiful man that we had the opportunity to witness in his unfolding over the years. It's been a blessing to be witnessed by you and to witness